Say hello to James Moore, at least what we know of James Moore from his Facebook page. Now, James Moore is in jail right now for killing a white chick. The chick he met online while he was homeless. And now she's dead. It's so easy to lose these kinds of stories, especially if you're the kind of person that's always looking around for a number to prove this or disprove that and get into numbers. All of a sudden we forget about the reality of this enormous disparity between black on white and white on black violence, how black people are 70, 80, 90, 100 times more likely to commit violence on a white person than the other way around. And when we focus on the numbers, we lose sight of that reality. I was talking to Gavin McInnes the other night on email, and he was asking me for a few questions about some numbers. I said, I think I could find them for you. I don't have them at my fingertips, but because I've always admired Gavin and what he's up to, I thought I'd find them. Anyway, 5 or 10 minutes later, he's sending me the info that he requested. He had already figured out what he wanted to do. But I'm always surprised that on this page, or in my books, people are always how often people say, "Boy, Colin's got the numbers. He's got the statistics down." I really don't live in a world of statistics, even though I have a college degree in it, and I can basically do this stuff in a way that will make most of you dizzy. But in this case, the numbers are hiding the reality. They obscure the reality. So my number, when we talk about black on white crime versus white on black, my number is, I'm living in a digital world, 0-1. Do we have a problem? We'd have a problem if it was 10% greater. No, it's not 10% greater. It's 10 times greater. That's 1,000%. 20, 50, 100 times greater. That's how crazy this disparity is. That's how easy it is to find. So this story of James Moore, you're going to see in a minute. I mean, we're looking at his Facebook page. He looks like an ordinary guy. He likes his basketball. Loves Colin Kaepernick. Loves talking about how white people suck. He loves talking about how black people are relentless victims of how black people are relentless victims of relentless white racism. I mean, that's clear from the pictures in his Facebook page. So we can see a guy like James Moore, the killer James Moore, he's really down with the greatest lie of our generation, the hoax of black victimization. And you don't know, and it's hard to say what the relationship is between this incredible level of feeling of black victimization and what relationship it has with this incredible level of black on white racial violence. But we do know that anytime you have violence against somebody that's preceded by hostility, and this black on white hostility is palpable and easy to find, starting with Colin Kaepernick, starting with James Moore. So let's look at that case of James Moore, but let's just blow through a few other cases, a few other examples of black criminality, just so we can all remember what we're talking about. We're not talking about numbers. This is not a dry academic exercise. These are stories that are going to show you how to read newspapers, how to watch TV. But even more importantly than that, these are stories that might save your life, might save the lives of your mom and dad, aunt and uncle, sister, brother, or children. Let's get to it.
It's a story you saw first on WITN.com. A Greensboro man has now been arrested for a young woman's death. Her remains were found New Year's Eve last year. CB Cotton has been following the story for us out of Onslow County and has the latest.
It was on New Year's Eve that the decomposed remains of Shelby Brown were discovered here in Onslow County. And now, after nearly 4 months of groundwork, the Onslow County Sheriff's Office says they've been led to her killer. Side-by-side deputies say these photos show a victim and the man behind the murder, 41-year-old James Moore III of Greensboro. Sheriff Hans Miller says Moore was arrested in Guilford County at around 9 on Friday morning.
Heinous murder. And it started actually on the last day of last year.
Deputies say it was back on New Year's Eve that Brown's remains were discovered by a group of teens here off Thomas Humphrey Road. Sheriff Miller says on January 3rd, Shelby Brown was reported missing by her mom, and the remains were identified a week later. At a press conference on Friday, the sheriff's office said the victim was stabbed, and they knew each other.
They met in on a social media platform. That's basically how they actually met each other. They did know each other.
Deputies say Moore had been transient in the past several years, but was from Onslow County. According to a social media profile, he attended White Oak High School and worked as a barber. With many details left unsaid, investigators say more could come from this arrest.
It's not outside the realm of thinking that there may be additional victims out there.
And Michelle, the video is really disturbing. These suspects attacked and beat 2 men before they attacked that teenage girl. Authorities are searching for at least 8 suspects. A young man punched, kicked, and robbed by several men in a hotel parking lot. The brutal attack captured on surveillance cameras coming moments after the victim, a young man wearing a backpack, exchanges words with the suspects inside a car. He suddenly starts running, the men in pursuit. Seconds later, they corner him.
He appears to be in his late teens to early 20s. He was wearing a backpack. Again, he was chased down and he was beaten, and his backpack was stolen. He is yet to come forward.
Security cameras at the Marriott Residence Inn capturing the violent crime spree on the night of April 28th. A man accompanied by 2 women takes a beating after confronting the attackers. A suspect wearing a distinctive jacket is seen carrying the stolen backpack.
Either they were waiting for people to show up in the parking lot, or they possibly knew some of the people over there.
The attacks continue, the suspects chasing a group of females. One of the women raises and throws a bat. During that encounter, the suspects hit and robbed a 16-year-old girl.
Jewelry was taken off her body with force, and the suspect in this case was wearing all black, and it appeared to be wearing gloves at the time during the assault that he had on the first person, and also when he assaulted her.
Police say the suspects were traveling in 2 vehicles, a black or dark blue late model Honda and an older model gold Lexus.
I'm telling you right now, it's gonna disappear. Why? Because I'm gonna throw it. I'm telling you, I'm gonna throw it. Long time, man. Look, huh? What is it? It's a whole meal. It's no chicken on this shit, bro. What the fuck am I doing on this? Go ask for some more chicken. I already did. And what she said? She said no. You want any different now? That's exactly what she did. Everybody else is exactly what she gave me. Right here. They got a whole tray of chicken. That line right there, you gonna slow pieces. And you smiling, I'm telling you, walk off. This shit going in their face. Nah, you can't do that. I bet y'all will. You can't do that. Hey,
Hey, chill out, bro.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
New at 11, broken and bruised. This man was out for a run when he was brutally beaten by a group of teenagers. NBC 10's Brandon Hudson spoke to him tonight. First off, Brandon, how is he doing?
Well, Jacqueline, he has a broken wrist and dislocated shoulder, but he's in good spirits. Jeff Brennan was in this area of 26th and Christian, where we've seen a lot of people jogging, walking their dogs, or biking. He has some pretty serious injuries, but he's alive thanks to 2 strangers.
I broke my wrist. I lost a lot of skin here. There's a lot of bruising like around the thumb there. I was convinced that it was just going to go dark and I was going to wake up in the hospital.
Jeff Brennan said he was attacked doing something he loved, running. With a cast on one arm and the other in a sling, Brennan told us about the teenagers who randomly targeted him Tuesday evening around sunset.
I heard some footsteps behind me and started thinking, boy, the weather got nice. There's a lot more runners out and somebody's about to pass me. And instead it was 3 teenagers who jumped on my back from behind and took me down.
Brennan was near 26th and Christian Streets when the teens attacked him. Seconds later, he said a couple of people drove up, which scared them away.
There's good people out there who know when to do the right thing and will do it without even thinking.
Brennan was training for next weekend's Blue Cross Broad Street Run when he was assaulted.
I say every year that it's my favorite day of the year.
He has several medals from previous Broad Street runs, but won't get one this year, which was supposed to be his 12th. But Brennan said what happened to him won't stop him from jogging again.
I still want to run. I love this neighborhood, love this city.
Alive and thankful, but Alicia Nairn is also still trying to recover the frightful few seconds that changed her life.
He shoved the gun in my face and snatched my purse. At first, I thought he was going to snatch me out of the car, but he took my backpack and ran.
She says she and a friend were just pulling up to do some grocery shopping on Tuesday night when the routine trip took a turn.
I just couldn't even see him. All I seen was the gun.
Nairn didn't get a good look at the man, but cameras did. Turns out the suspect and two people with him were shopping in the grocery store before the robbery. The victim's car is still parked at the grocery store because whoever robbed her at gunpoint also took her keys, and she doesn't have a replacement.
It's been really hard lately, and then this happens, too, on top of all that.
The mother of three says her husband just lost his job, and now she can't even use the family's only set of wills.
Every place I call, they're like, it's going to be like $350, and we don't have that, you know? We have 3 kids, 3 small kids.
The mother says aside from shaking her up, the bad guy also got away with her children's Social Security cards and all the money the family had.
We might be stranded, and we don't have a way to get anywhere or pick the kids up from school and stuff like that right now, but it's not worth them losing their mom.
Though staring into the barrel of a gun has put things into perspective for her, she says more than anything, she wants the suspects caught.
I really hope and pray they do catch him, because I really would not want this to happen to nobody else.
Sulla, good evening. So it all happened right here outside of Holy Cross. The victim, she is just 19 years old. All she was trying to do was pick up her little brother from school. So take a look at this video. As you just mentioned, we did just speak with that victim not too long ago. Now, we should point out that she is very shaken up, but she's okay. Madison Schumacher says the 2 boys were wearing hoodies. One of them pointed a gun at her head. The carjacking had happened yesterday at around 2:30. That was at the intersection of Crescent and Paris. Now, police say 2 suspects walked up and told her to get out of her car. Investigators say one of the suspects showed he had a gun. That's when she got out of her car. Then officers say she was then hit, and that suspects, they did drove off. The vehicle has been recovered. Here's more on that situation.
He clocked the gun back and put it in my face and said, "Do you really think I won't shoot?" At that time, I put my hands up and moved to the side, and they both got in the car. The other boy had walked around to the other side to get in the passenger seat. Didn't seem to know how to drive at all. Both probably not older than the youngest, looked about 12 or 13. I stood in front of the car, put my hands up and said, "Please don't drive away." At that time, he pressed the acceleration and hit me with the car, and I, in order to not get run over, jumped on the hood and held on to where the windshield wipers would be. And he was swerving the car back and forth, trying to get me off, and he had finally slowed down, so I rolled off to the side. And that's when he skirted off and took the corner, and they disappeared.
Of course, everybody's still talking about the big Philadelphia scandal, where they tried to kick a few of the fellas out of Starbucks coffee shop when the fellas wanted to use the facilities and they wanted to hang out without buying anything. See something, say something, parentheses, unless it applies to a black person. Had recently the same kind of thing happening at Yale. Black person sleeping on a couch in a common room. One of the students called the cops and said, "I'm not sure she belongs on that couch." That turned into a huge thing. Now, as if by magic, everybody's going, lots and lots of black writers are going around at the New York Daily News and other places. They're going around reminding everybody that white people should never call the cops on black people because that's just white racism. Because why would you call a cop on a victim? Why would a white person call a cop on a victim of white racism? Hell, the black people ought to be calling the cops on you in these stories that we just saw. Because aren't the black people really the victims of racism in this country? Of course they are. Just ask the guy who runs Starbucks. And just ask him what happens if his employees continue to point out black people feel entitled to break the law where other people do not. And when you point that out, that makes the black kids angry.